Thank you all for having me here. It's great to be back at All Saints. My most recent visit was Mary Kuhn's funeral, which was quite a celebration of her life. And I think we would all agree that Mary has given us a task, and a noble one, to preserve this republic and be true to the values that we are supposed to hold in this country. I go back to pre-Cana, right across the road here. That was 28 years ago. And as I was waiting, and thank you for the warm welcoming, Father Kirby walked in, who married Jennifer Brady and John Mannion on June 28th of 1997. So it's good to see you, Father. And good to see everybody here. So many folks that I know, and I really look forward to today, and I've looked forward to it for some time. And I thank you for your patience in getting everybody in here. We're running a little bit late, but I want to acknowledge the pain that you all feel, and I feel that pain. We've all had the pit in our stomach, and we all tried to warn people about what was coming. And the president and the people behind Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation and the Koch brothers that funded it and wrote it had 4 years to plan. And they're enacting that plan. That plan is not over. And it's going to take a lot of resiliency. It's going to take a lot of fortitude. It's going to take a lot of unity. And it's going to take a lot of truth-telling. And the battle against the truth is real, it's rampant, it's funded, and I can't emphasize enough that I may not say everything when you want me to say, and I may not say it exactly in the manner that you want me to, and I may not vote or take actions exactly like you may want, but I want to tell you this: I'm in it, and I'm not going to stop, and I don't care about my job or my reputation. I will do what needs to be done to get through this, but I need to do it in a way that is achievable as well. Some things are unfortunately unachievable at this point in time. I mention all those things that I don't care about. What I do care about is the safety of my family, and that's real. So, I feel your pain, and I thank you for being true to the teachings of Jesus, to welcoming people in, to protecting them, to mobilizing, to assist them. And your actions are to be commended, and I take my job seriously, as I know all of you do. The United States is supposed to be something, and when Jose and Adrian are taken away, that's not how we operate here in Syracuse in central New York. Matthew 25:35 says, "You were hungry, I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me." My grandparents were welcomed, not just to this country, but to Syracuse. And we have big generations in the Mannion family, which means my grandfather left Ireland in 1916, avoiding an oppressive government like so many Americans and so many people like Jose and Adrian, fleeing oppression and or seeking opportunity. My second and third cousins tell me that my grandfather did not want to be conscripted into the British Army. So he came here. He then enlisted in the U.S. Army. Then he went back and married my grandmother and came here and started making automobiles at Franklin Auto. But the Depression hit. He lost his job and then he passed away. My dad was the second oldest of four. And they were on public assistance. We just saw the largest nutritional benefit cut in the history of this country. And my dad talked about what he had to do as a 14-year-old boy, second oldest in his family, and the embarrassment and the shame that he felt probably was a little different at that time, but some ways similar, that he was on welfare, and everybody in his world knew it. He got a GED, dropped out of school, and worked for 42 years at the New York Central Railroad, the only job he ever had in his adult life. And I talk to my kids now who are into the job world, and I sometimes mention when they don't like something that happened at work, I say, you know, your grandfather had one job. Why do you think it was? And they don't know. But my answer for them is, he was afraid he'd never get another one, because he watched that happen with his own family. And you know, my grandfather and grandmother, Kate Spellman, who was left to raise those 4 kids, the youngest with Down syndrome, my Aunt Marilyn, they were not discriminated against because of their name or the color of their skin, but they were discriminated against because of the sound of their voice. And what we're seeing with this administration, as we all know, is people are being racially profiled, they're being demonized, they're being targeted, and what this president and administration is good at is dividing us and demonizing, you know? But that's not how it is here in Syracuse, New York. Just like my grandparents came here, we are a welcoming community. We welcome people because we know that as children of God, they bring us so much. They bring us cultural diversity. They bring us a work ethic. They bring us the ability to love one another. And we celebrate that diversity here. We celebrate people who immigrate to this area, whether they are on temporary protected status, whether they are an asylum seeker or a refugee, or whether they are undocumented. We welcome them. And we must acknowledge in this country, as we do need immigration enforcement, and we must have immigration laws, that we can still carry out those regulations and laws and still treat people humanely. But that's not what we're seeing. And what we're forgetting, or what some people want us to forget, is that our government has played an active role in people remaining in this country beyond visa or underdocumented, because we know that, number one, we need comprehensive immigration reform that really works for this country, but also, as an older population, we need people to come to this country to help and enrich this country, and not to push it to economics, but to make sure that multiple sectors of the economy are functioning. And that includes in the first Trump administration. And I have lots of conversations with people from the Department of State or the Department of Agriculture and small business owners and refugees and asylum seekers. And this is how it has been for a very long time. So I'm committed to comprehensive immigration reform that works. I'm committed to a pathway to citizenship, certainly for our dreamers. We had an opportunity leading into the 2024 election for comprehensive immigration reform. But the president knew that this is a winning issue for him, because what he does when people are struggling with high utility bills, high grocery bills, property tax increases, he points to the other. He points to demonize, and that brings people to him. And unfortunately, inflation and immigration ended up being winning issues for him and his party, and we're stuck with a Republican trifecta trying to battle this using whatever leverage we can. And in some ways, we have some victories. But what would really help us is if we just had a few folks on the other side that would be true to their teachings. I mean, a lot of them wear the cross, and a lot of them invoke the name of Jesus, but they're not following the teachings of the Bible that are preached and valued in a place like this. So our immigration system should reflect the rule of law, but it should reflect our moral values as well. And our country should be strong enough, and our leaders should be strong enough to do both things. But for whatever reason, and there's a multitude of them, including the people who are in power, are drunk on that power, and they're drunk on greed, and they want to be wealthier and more powerful at the expense of all of us, but certainly at the expense of people who came here like my grandfather and grandmother, fleeing oppression and seeking opportunity. So I really appreciate the ability to speak with all of you today. There's no place in this country that I would rather represent than Syracuse, New York, and the surrounding area, because of how we've welcomed refugees, new Americans, the undocumented, over the course of multiple generations. And people are kind here. They are. If it gives you any comfort, in the year plus that the Trump administration has been in, I have a handful of people who, in my personal space, have given me a hard time about not being bipartisan or being anti-American or whatever. But I can tell you that there are thousands of people that come up to me every single day at church, at Wegmans, that come across parking lots and say, you're Mannion, right? I want to thank you for what you're doing. I never voted for you. Which is fine, I mentioned the job. But that I hope gives us some comfort that here we welcome people, we care about people, we're a community that has welcomed generations of immigrants. What was shocking to me when I was in the state senate for 4 years is there was a budget for refugees of $2 million. And I said, how can this only be $2 million? And I was looking for allies. And I didn't find many because there's a lot of budget priorities. But Sean Ryan from Buffalo was there. And we ended up raising that to, I think, 7 million now. Thank you, Beth. But this is what we do. What Interfaith does, and what Catholic Charity does, and the Refugee Center in Utica do, is they give people the possibility, like Patrick Mannion and Katie Spellman, of the American dream. And it works here. It works here. So people are kind, they lift each other up, and they support each other. And we don't like the cruelty, we don't like lies, we know right from wrong. So I'm really proud to represent this area because it makes it easy. And that initial funding was started by an assemblyman named Anthony Brindisi. So Utica, Syracuse, Buffalo. I thought it was everywhere. I really did, because it's so built into our DNA, but it's not, and we're going to continue to advocate and help people. Our office has been successful on over 300 cases related to people that have to engage with ICE, DHS, Immigration, the Department of State. And I encourage all of you to continue to engage my office and seek assistance, not just on this issue, but with the IRS or the Veterans Administration or whatever. I've got a great team of people that I hope, if you contacted the office, you find responsive and informed. It's a priority for me and it's a priority for them. I have great people working there, and we just want to help people. And that includes the people who are unlawfully detained. Sometimes there's uncertainty in an immigration status of an individual. Unfortunately, this administration is using that, or delays in hearings, to detain people unfairly. And we can do something, and we have done something as an office. I want to make sure that I have access to all those federal agencies, as some of my colleagues have lost access, to be able to help those people either preemptively or otherwise. And what we've seen from ICE, and I'm sure you know this, is that judges have already stated openly that over 4,000 times they have been in violation of the law. So whatever laws are on the books really don't matter to this administration. They will go beyond the law, force us to go to the courts, force us to try to amend legislation to be victorious. And we've seen a lot of that, and we can maybe talk about that as we get through those. But I thank you all for fighting for what's right, for telling the truth, and for standing along with us. And we are going to have a robust conversation here today, I am sure. But I'm going to tell you this, when we walk out that door, we all know what our mission is. We all know what that mission is. And that mission is to stay united in the preservation of this republic and the respect and dignity for every person who exists in this country. So, thank you all.